Hey, what is up guys? It is Poor Master Evan here. It's been a little while since the last one, I keep taking these hiatuses of a couple months or so from each video. But I've been busy, working, same old, same stuff.
Are you sure about that?
If you guys haven't seen, for those that follow me on my social media, or have seen on my channel as of recent, I have updated the channel banner. So it's got a little bit more film type stuff to it, mixing some older films and some of the newer films all into one thing. It'll show up somewhere here if I remember to put that in when I edit this. But anyways, as you guys have seen from the title and the thumbnail, in this video I'm going to be ranking every one of the 23 Marvel Cinematic films that are out currently. Now this minuses out Black Widow because that doesn't come out till November, if it does. But we're going to be doing this as like a tier list wise, ranking them from best to worst. There's already a few that are the worst, and I know a lot of people will agree with me. One of my friends, Shadow Dragon, had done this a little while ago, and I thought, hey, maybe I should do this because I'm a really big Marvel fan, big DC fan, Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. As you can tell by my room, I'm a really big pop culture nerd and fan. But anyways, guys, let's get into this and let's start ranking the 23 MCU films that exist as of current. Here we go. So, the MCU is big and all, but there's a lot of really good films in here. There's a lot of bad ones. There's some that could use some more work. And as you guys can tell, I have set them up in 5 categories. We've got Masterpiece, which is the top tier. The best ones out there. Nothing can beat them. We got the great ones. There's a lot of really great films in the MCU. And we got the good ones. Could use a little bit of work, but were really good and I enjoyed them anyways. Then we get the it could have been better. And then we just have plain hot garbage. So without further ado, we're doing this in chronological order, not in the order of how the timeline works through the films, but how they were released in order. So starting off with number 1 with Iron Man 1. Iron Man 1 is a really great movie. I remember watching when I was a little kid and getting like the Burger King toys and stuff like that. I've always liked Iron Man a lot. I've always liked Spider-Man. They've always been my favorite characters since I was a little kid. And so Iron Man 1, it's great. It's not a masterpiece, but it's a really great film. Now, The Incredible Hulk. Where do I begin with this mess? This immediately goes to hot garbage. There's not much I can really say about it. There's very few people I know that actually really enjoy this movie. The action sequences between the Hulk and Abomination are pretty cool, but this movie is a really big mess and it could have been done so much better if it had been done better at the time of when it was done essentially. Next up, Iron Man 2. A lot of people really hate Iron Man 2, but like I said, growing up I was a really big Iron Man fan. Iron Man 2 was a really great movie. I enjoyed it, but it's gonna go in good because there were some stuff that they could have done better with the film, but didn't. So it goes in good. I enjoy it to this day. I still love that movie. Then we have Thor. Thor's a really good film. It was a good setup to the character and introducing us to the more sci-fi side of the Marvel Universe and stuff that we hadn't seen before yet. Next up, Captain America, the First Avenger. I love this movie. I am a sucker for period time movies with war films and all that kind of stuff. I love these kind of movies. So, Captain America, First Avenger, great film. It's not a masterpiece. There's some things that could have been done better with the film, but overall, it is a great film. I enjoy it to this day. I watched it not that long ago, and I was just like, this is so much better from the last time I watched it. I don't know if it was because I have a better understanding with film now, or I'm just a sucker for it. Next up, we have The Avengers. The Avengers is like one of the most insane films I'd ever seen since I was young. It isn't a masterpiece. It's got some issues there in certain parts. Not really much, but it is a great film. It is a great introduction to having all these characters in one place together after building it up from the first Iron Man film onwards. Now next up we have Iron Man 3. We're heading into phase 2 right now. Iron Man 3 is very hated, and I don't understand why. I love this movie. I remember seeing the first trailer and then seeing the suits and stuff and then watching in the final battle of every single one of the Mark suits fighting against like the extremist soldiers and stuff. I remember like having my mind blown seeing this. And Iron Man 3 has always been one of my favorites. I don't know if it's because I'm just a big Iron Man fan or what, but I enjoy this movie a lot. So Iron Man 3 I'm going to put in great because that's my personal opinion and I really enjoy it. Thor: The Dark World could have been better. So I'm going to put it in eh. It's not total hot garbage, but there's a lot of things with that movie that could have been done better. Yeah. Next up we have Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, there's a really big amount of people that love this movie, and then there's some that hate it. And the people that hate it get bashed on because of it. Now, I don't hate this movie whatsoever. The fighting choreography in this movie is insane. I love it so much. The introduction of the Winter Soldier was phenomenal. I really enjoy this film, introducing the Falcon, all that kind of stuff, introducing that Hydra has been embedded into S.H.I.E.L.D. this entire time. I love this movie a lot. It's not as great as the first Captain America film, but it is a great film for his 3 films. So, it's a great film, but to me, it's not as good as the first one because, period film, I love that kind of stuff. Next up, we have Guardians of the Galaxy. There's not much that I can say about this film other than I love this movie so much. So that's an immediate great. This movie is so good. I remember watching when I was younger. The soundtrack is amazing. I love James Gunn's work, the way he films and how when filming he plays the music in certain scenes so it goes along with it so they can move it around and stuff. I love that. Guardians 1, Guardians 2 are amazing. I can't wait for Guardians 3 to come out. I'm really excited for that film to come out. Next up on the list we have Avengers: Age of Ultron. This is another very controversial movie. And I think a lot of people overshadow the whole part of Ultron. Now, I remember watching the trailer and seeing how much darker toned it was going to be, and it really ended up not being darker toned. It ended up being there ended up being a lot of comedy and humor to it, which honestly, if it would have been darker, I would love it more. But to me, this movie is a great film. I love Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now, the whole Black Widow Hulk relationship thing aside, Ultron as a villain was just portrayed so well. And his voice is just, it's terrifying but really cool in a way. He brings this really interesting character to life, and I loved it so much. I really hope Ultron maybe will show up later down the line as some kind of new AI or some shit, because he was a really good villain, and honestly, them just having him as a one-off is just kind of a waste of his character in the comics and everything, and in the TV shows and so forth. Next up, we've got Ant-Man. I really like Ant-Man. I remember seeing I remember watching the first trailer for Ant-Man and being like, this is really cool, and seeing the film, and I ended up really enjoying it. Now, this isn't a great film because there are some things with it that I think could have been done better. But I remember watching it and being like, this is a really good movie. I really ended up really liking Ant-Man. I thought it was really good when it came out. I own 2 or 3 of the pops from when it first came out. I immediately bought them. I really liked Yellow Jacket as a character. I thought he was a really interesting character. Sucks he ended up being a one-off villain, but he was really cool for what he was. Paul Rudd plays Scott Lang so well. He's just the quirky humor that he comes with when he is Ant-Man. I just love it so much. Next up, we have Captain America: Civil War. Now, without saying, this movie goes straight to masterpiece. This movie is just, I remember the hype around this movie so much of which side are you on? Team Iron Man or Team Captain America? And I was like, I like Cap, but I'm, Iron Man fan. And I remember watching the trailer and seeing Spider-Man show up and then have Captain America's shield, and I remember being like, oh my god, they put Spider-Man in the MCU. And we ended up getting the introduction of Black Panther, and we got to see all these characters fighting alongside each other and fighting against each other, with Ant-Man becoming Giant Man and all of that. I enjoy it to this day. It's one of my favorite MCU films ever, therefore it hits that top tier of masterpiece. And next on our list, we have Doctor Strange. Now, I really like Doctor Strange. I remember not wanting to watch it and joking about it when it first came out and be like, oh, this is gonna be like an acid trip. It's gonna be really weird. It's gonna be a seizure-y kind of thing because of how trippy it was. But honestly, after watching it, I ended up really enjoying Doctor Strange. I liked this movie a lot, and therefore, we're going to throw that up in the greats, because for an origin story for Doctor Strange, it was really good. I really did enjoy it. Now, next up on the list, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. There is not much I can say like the first one. This film is just great. Now, unlike the first one, Guardians 2 hits so much harder and so much more to the heart and everything. And the soundtrack was overall, like, top notch. Like, Guardians 1 is really good in terms of its soundtrack. Guardians 2 just hits the bar of, like, soundtrack. Like, I listen to the Guardians of the Galaxy songs in my, like, old school vibes plays of 80s, 70s, 60s music and stuff like that all the time. And I love jamming out to, specifically, Come and Get Your Love, Southern Nights, Brandy, You're a Fine Girl. Songs like those. Those are, like, my favorite songs. I love listening to them all the time. Guardians Volume 2, for me, personally, is a masterpiece. I love that movie a lot. It's really great. Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, for it being the first standalone Spider-Man film, with, well, not even really because Iron Man's in it, come on now. Essentially being the first Spider-Man standalone film within the MCU, this movie didn't quite catch me, to be honest. I loved Michael Keaton as the Vulture. I thought that was such a perfect choice for them to choose as the role for Vulture. But I just didn't find myself really enjoying Spider-Man Homecoming that much. So therefore, we gotta throw it up in the good. It's not as great, but it's a good film for what it is. And Vulture was done very, very well. And Iron Man being in it, like, kind of showing him the ropes and everything, and Spider-Man with this different version of the origin story, apart from Tobey Maguire's version and Andrew Garfield's version, was different, and I liked it, but it just didn't grasp me. It's not one of my favorite all-time MCU films. Next up on the list, we have Thor Ragnarok. I love this movie so much. I remember being hyped. I saw it, I think I saw it opening day, if I'm not mistaken, and I loved it so much. Like, bringing this humorous side to the MCU, I just really enjoyed, and therefore goes on great. Taika Waititi did such an amazing job on the film, and I love it to this day. Next, we got Black Panther. Black Panther was a really good film. I really did enjoy it. It fell hard with certain CGI parts, but overall, I really did enjoy this movie. But it doesn't hit the bar of great for me. I love it. I've rewatched it multiple times, but it's a good film. It's not a great film in terms of, like, how it was done, but I love it. The soundtrack for it's really good as well. Now we're getting to the heavy stuff right here. Is there much to say about this? Avengers Infinity War, man. That's a masterpiece right there. I remember going pre-opening day. I was coming back from Philly, and I remember, like, convincing my parents. I was like, hey, can we go see Avengers Infinity War? And they're like, and we ended up seeing it. And I remember sitting in that theater so shocked at the end of the film and being like, they didn't do that. They did not just do that. And it was just like, I have to wait until next year to see how this plays out. But yeah, Avengers Infinity War is one of the best Marvel films ever. They did just such an amazing job bringing the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy into one film, but also mixing Doctor Strange and all these different characters just into one solid film with one thing against one big bad guy, and it was just done so well, and I really enjoyed it. Now, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I did a trailer reaction to this back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and I was really excited for it, and I enjoyed it, but the only problem was it kind of fell short of, like, it felt like there was different subplots. Like, this was going this way, this was going this way, and then you have the main thing, and they all just kind of collide, but it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go from watching the trailers. But overall, Ant-Man and the Wasp it's a good film. It's not the greatest, but it falls in line with its predecessor. It's a good film. It is an amazing film that I was like, oh my gosh, but I love it a lot, especially Luis. He's one of my favorite characters ever. Next up, Captain Marvel. I saw this pre-opening day as well. I saw this in, like, RPX and, like, Regal's RPX, like, IMAX style. There's certain aspects of this film I really don't care for. There's not much to the film, in my opinion, that really sets up, like, it sets up a bit with, like, Secret Invasion with the Skrulls and stuff, but it's like you could watch Infinity War Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then immediately go to Endgame. Like, there's really not much with Captain Marvel that, like, spreads off into there, but it being an origin story and setting up the Skrulls and setting up stuff like that, it works. But to me, I think it could have been done better. It's not one of my favorites. And it's nothing against Brie Larson as Captain Marvel with that whole drama that goes on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. It's just not one of my favorites. I just don't care for it as much. Now for the big one. Avengers Endgame. This movie is like the pinnacle of the MCU. I love this movie so much, and I've watched it way too many times since it's come out. I always cry and I get emotional when I see Tony's death and Natasha's death and stuff. It upsets me still to this day. I still can't get over it. But this film was done so well. The final battle in this movie is one of my favorite fight scenes in all of the MCU period. And I actually might have a project that I'm working on regarding this coming soon. So stay tuned for that. But I love this movie. It's a masterpiece. There's not much to say other than that. Next on our list, Spider-Man Far From Home. I was excited for this movie. I saw this pre-opening as well. And I remember watching the trailer and being like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I was really happy that they were able to bring Mysterio as a character as comic accurate as they possibly could into the MCU. Because honestly, they gave him the fishbowl head. That's all I wanted was the fishbowl head, and they did it. But the way that they portrayed the character was done so very well that it was just bravo. And them setting up for what's to come later on with possibly the Sinister Six in the next Spider-Man film, and so on and so forth was done very well. But the main thing about this film being like an epilogue to Avengers Endgame, the repercussions of what happened after, like everybody coming back, Peter having to deal with being called the next Iron Man and everything like that, and having all that weight pushed upon him, even though he just wanted to go on this trip and get away from it all, get away from being a superhero for a bit and everything like that. This film was really well done. Some people don't like it, some people like it. To me, I really like Spider-Man Far From Home a lot more than I do Homecoming. The characters are just done so much better. The film was, in my opinion, better. I like the soundtrack in it a lot more than the first one. I'm really excited for Spider-Man 3, especially at that end credits scene. I won't say for those that watch this video and have not seen it, but there's a certain returning character from a other trilogy of the Spider-Man universe that shows up and possibly creates this whole new thing for the next Spider-Man film that comes out next year, which I'm so excited for. But anyways, guys, that's my tier ranking for the MCU as of right now, as of currently August 13th, 2020. We still have Black Widow coming out later this year. Hopefully, I'll be able to see it in theaters. People, wear your mask, please. I would love to go back to the theaters in these dark times of COVID-19 and everything. But yeah, guys, I hope to do more tier ranking videos, more film-related videos and stuff like that. Kind of stuff I was doing in 2018, stuff like that with my reaction videos, but I want to more so branch that out with reviews and different tier lists and stuff. So I'm thinking maybe the next one I'll do, depending on how well this one does, is the Star Wars franchise. Whether it be the Skywalker Saga plus Rogue One and Solo, or just the Skywalker Saga in general of the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and the sequel trilogy from Disney. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope to have a lot more coming out before the end of the year. I got a lot of plans. I don't know if I'm going to go through with them, depending on with work and school starting back up again and everything. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. And as always, I'm Poor Master Evan, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.